Right now, as you're watching this, your emotions are making decisions for you. That anger you felt this morning when someone cut you off in traffic. That anxiety creeping in when you checked your bank account. That jealousy burning when you saw someone else winning. You think you're in control, but you're not. Your emotions are the master, and you're just the servant obeying every command they give. Most men walk through life as emotional puppets, jerking and twisting whenever someone pulls their strings. One insult, and they explode. One rejection, and they collapse. One moment of fear, and they freeze. They call this being human, being authentic, being real. But Machiavelli would call it what it truly is: weakness, dangerous, exploitable weakness. Here's the brutal truth no one wants to tell you. The man who cannot control his emotions will be controlled by everyone else. Your boss knows this. Your woman knows this. Your enemies definitely know this. They've all learned that if they can trigger your anger, your fear, your guilt, they own you. They can make you do anything, say anything, become anything they need you to be. This video is not about suppressing your emotions. It's not about becoming some robotic shell of a man. This is about something far more powerful: mastery. The kind of mastery that transforms you from a reactive child into a calculating force. The kind that makes people wonder why nothing seems to shake you, why insults bounce off, why chaos doesn't move you, why you seem to operate on a different frequency than everyone else. Watch every second of this, because by the end, you'll understand the dark mechanics of emotional control. And once you see it, once you truly grasp how the game is played, you can never go back to being that emotional slave again. You weren't born to react. You were born to rule. And ruling starts with one simple, brutal act: killing the part of you that still believes your feelings matter more than your outcomes. You've been lied to your entire life. They told you emotions are who you are, that suppressing them is unhealthy, that expressing every feeling is authentic and brave. But here's what they didn't tell you. Emotional expression without control is just bleeding in public. And predators can smell blood from miles away. Maybe you snapped at someone. Maybe you broke down. Maybe you acted out of pure impulse, anger, fear, lust. In that moment, did you feel powerful? Did you feel like you were in command of your life? Or did you feel hijacked, like something else was driving and you were just along for the ride, watching yourself crash? That's because emotions are not you. They're signals. Warning lights on a dashboard. Most men make the fatal mistake of thinking the warning light is the problem. So they react to it. They obey it. They let it dictate their next move. But the light is not the issue. It's just information. And information only has power when you decide what to do with it. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he wrote that a prince must learn to control his own nature, not deny it, control it. Because in the courts of power, the man who could be provoked was the man who could be destroyed. One insult at the right moment, and he'd make a fatal mistake. One compliment at the right time, and he'd lower his guard. They do half the work themselves. Now look at your own life. How many times have you been manipulated because someone knew what buttons to push? How many times did anger make you say something you regretted? How many times did fear stop you from taking the action you knew you should take? How many times did guilt make you give in to people who didn't deserve your energy? Every single time, you weren't defeated by external force. You were defeated by internal chaos. Your emotions are not the enemy, but your inability to master them is. Because here's the cold reality: the world does not care how you feel. It only responds to what you do. You can be furious, heartbroken, terrified. It doesn't matter. Results are all that count. Outcomes are the only language power speaks. And the man who lets emotions cloud his judgment will always produce weak outcomes. So the first step to mastery is brutal honesty. Admit it. Right now, your emotions control you more than you control them. Admit that one harsh word from the wrong person can ruin your entire day. Admit that anxiety keeps you from opportunities. Admit that anger has cost you relationships, jobs, respect. Admit that you are not the calm, collected man you pretend to be. You're reactive, you're volatile, you're emotionally governed. And that's exactly where your power begins. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, the moment you see the chains clearly, that's when you can start breaking them. Emotional mastery doesn't start with control. It starts with awareness. Awareness that you've been a slave. And slaves can only be freed once they realize they're in prison. Most men never make it past this point. They'll defend their emotional outbursts. They'll justify their reactions. They'll say things like, "He made me angry. She hurt my feelings. They disrespected me." But listen closely. No one makes you feel anything. They create a stimulus. You choose the response. And that choice, that split second between trigger and reaction, that's where your freedom lives. Machiavelli would tell you this. The man who reacts is predictable. The man who calculates is dangerous. When someone insults you and you explode, they've won. They proved they can control you. They showed everyone watching that you're weak, easy to manipulate, a puppet. But when someone insults you and you smile, when you stay calm, when you respond with cold precision, or better yet, with silence, you've just flipped the script. Now they're confused. Now they're wondering what you're thinking. Now they're the ones who feel exposed. That is power. Not the absence of emotion, but the refusal to let emotion make your decisions. You acknowledge it. Then you set it aside and ask the only question that matters. What move serves me best right now? Not what feels good, not what feels justified. What serves my outcome? That's the difference between a boy and a man. A boy does what feels right. A man does what works. And here's the part that will change everything if you let it sink in. Your emotions lie to you, constantly. They tell you that reacting will make you feel better. It won't. They tell you that expressing anger will release it. It won't. It will only dig the groove deeper, make the pattern stronger. They tell you that avoiding fear will keep you safe. It will only shrink your world until you're trapped in a cage you built yourself. Every time you obey an emotion without filtering it through strategy, you're training yourself to be weaker. You're conditioning your mind to serve feelings instead of goals. And the more you do this, the more automatic it becomes, until one day you wake up and realize you're not living your life. Your emotions are. They decide who you talk to, what risks you take, what you pursue, what you avoid. You've become a passenger in your own existence. So let me be clear. Mastering your emotions is not optional. It's not some advanced technique for later. It's the foundation. Without it, every other skill you build is worthless. You can have talent, intelligence, resources, but if you can't control your inner world, someone else will control your outer world. They'll provoke you into mistakes. They'll manipulate you into submission. They'll exploit your emotional triggers until you're nothing but a tool in their hands. This is why Machiavelli warned that the prince who cannot govern himself cannot govern others. Because power is not about force, it's about control. And the first territory you must conquer is the one between your ears. Your mind is the kingdom. Your emotions are the subjects. And right now, the subjects are running wild, burning villages, causing chaos. You need to become the ruler who brings order. Not through violence, not through suppression, but through discipline, through strategy, through cold, relentless mastery. Now that you see the problem, now that you understand the cost of emotional slavery, Let's talk about the mechanics of control. Because this isn't theory. This is a system. And systems can be learned, practiced, mastered. The first rule of emotional mastery is separation. You must learn to separate yourself from your emotions. When they feel angry, they say, "I am angry." When they feel sad, they say, "I am sad." This is the root error. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness that observes them. There's a you that feels anger, and there's a you that watches yourself feel anger. The second you is the one you need to cultivate. Start practicing this immediately. The next time a strong emotion hits, don't identify with it. Don't say, "I'm furious." Say, "I'm noticing anger rising. I'm observing fear trying to take control." This might sound like a small shift, but it's everything. It creates distance. It reminds you that emotions are events happening to you, not the essence of who you are. And once you have that distance, you have choice. Never react immediately to emotional stimulus. Machiavelli knew that the man who acts in the heat of emotion acts foolishly. He makes promises he can't keep. He burns bridges he'll need later. He reveals weakness to enemies who are watching. So you must build in a delay. When someone insults you, pause. Count to 3. Breathe. Let the chemical surge pass through your body without acting on it. This is not weakness. This is strength. Because the man who controls the timing controls the outcome. Think about the greatest manipulators, negotiators, leaders in history. They never react instantly. They absorb. They calculate. They choose their moment. When someone attacks them, they might smile and say, "Interesting point. Let me think about that." And then they walk away. Later, when emotions have cooled, when they've thought it through strategically, then they respond. And their response is devastating because it's not clouded by feeling. The third rule is interrogation. When an emotion arises, interrogate it. Ask it questions like a detective questioning a suspect. Where did you come from? What are you trying to protect? What are you afraid of? Most emotions are not about the present moment. They're echoes from the past, old programs running on autopilot, that rage you feel when someone disrespects you. It's probably connected to childhood wounds, to times you felt powerless, that anxiety before a big meeting. It's probably connected to past failures, to a belief that you're not good enough. Once you see the root, the emotion loses its grip. It's no longer this mysterious force controlling you. It's just old programming. And programming can be rewritten. You start to see that most of your emotional reactions are not responses to reality. They're responses to the story you're telling yourself about reality. Change the story. Change the emotion. This is advanced work, but it's the path to freedom. The fourth rule is weaponization. This is where Machiavelli would smile. Because once you've mastered your own emotions, you can use them strategically. You can choose to show anger when it serves you, not because you feel it, but because displaying it will create a desired effect. You can choose to show warmth, vulnerability, coldness, whatever the situation requires. Your emotions become tools in your arsenal, not chains around your wrists. He can cry on command. He can rage on command. Not because he's feeling those things, but because he's learned to access them and deploy them when needed. You need to become an actor in your own life. Not fake, but strategic. You feel everything, but you show only what serves your purpose. That's not dishonesty. That's mastery. Now let's talk about the emotions that destroy men most frequently. Fear, anger, and neediness. These three are responsible for more wasted potential, ruined relationships, and lost opportunities than any external enemy could ever accomplish. Let's break them down. Fear is the prison most men live in without even knowing it. It whispers constantly, "Don't try that, you'll fail. Don't speak up, they'll judge you. Don't take that risk, you'll lose everything." And so you shrink. You play small. You settle. You watch others live the life you wanted, while fear keeps you paralyzed. But here's what fear doesn't tell you. It's almost always lying. Machiavelli wrote that many have imagined republics and principalities that have never been seen or known to exist in reality. Translation: most of what you fear is imaginary. It's a story your mind created to keep you safe, to keep you in the cave. But safety is not the same as living. Safety is just slow death, comfortable but dead nonetheless. The way to master fear is not to eliminate it. Fear is hardwired into you for survival. The way to master it is to act despite it. Every time you feel fear and do the thing anyway, you're training your nervous system. You're showing your brain that the fear was wrong, that you survived, that you're stronger than it thought. And slowly, over time, fear starts to quiet down. Not because it's gone, but because it realizes it no longer controls you. Then there's anger. Anger feels powerful. When you're angry, you feel justified, righteous, strong. But that's the lie. Anger is almost always a mask for something deeper, usually hurt, usually fear, usually a feeling of powerlessness. So you lash out, and in the moment, it feels good. But what has anger ever actually built? What problem has rage ever solved? Nothing. It just creates more problems, more enemies, more chaos. The Machiavellian approach to anger is cold. You don't let it erupt, you use it as fuel. When someone disrespects you, instead of exploding, you get quiet. You observe. You make a note. And later, when the moment is right, when they've forgotten, when they're vulnerable, you make your move. Not out of emotion, but out of calculation. Revenge is a dish best served cold, as they say. Not because coldness is cruel, but because coldness is effective. And finally, neediness. This might be the most dangerous of all because it's the hardest to see. Neediness is when your emotional state depends on external validation. You need her to text back. You need them to approve of you. You need the promotion, the likes, the recognition. And when you don't get it, you spiral. This is pure slavery. You've handed your peace, your power, your entire emotional world to other people, and they will use it against you. Machiavelli would say, "The man who needs nothing is the man who has everything." Because when you don't need validation, you can't be controlled with approval or rejection. When you don't need affection, you can't be manipulated with love or withdrawal. When you don't need anything from anyone, you become untouchable. People sense this, they feel it. And paradoxically, they're drawn to it, because everyone wants to be near someone who doesn't need them. It's the ultimate power. So how do you kill neediness? You build an internal world so rich, so fulfilling, so solid, that external validation becomes irrelevant. You find your purpose, your standards, your mission, and you make that the foundation of your identity. Not what others think, not what others give you, what you create, what you stand for, what you build with your own hands. That becomes your source. And when you're sourced from within, no one can drain you. Let's go deeper into the dark mechanics of emotional control, because now you're ready for the advanced tactics. The ones Machiavelli used. The ones that separate the men who survive from the men who dominate. First, understand that everyone around you is trying to manage your emotions. Your boss uses fear and reward to control your behavior. Your partner uses affection and withdrawal to shape your actions. Your friends use acceptance and rejection to keep you in line. Advertising, media, politics, all of it is emotional manipulation at scale. They're all playing the game. And if you don't know the rules, you're not a player, you're a piece. So you have to become conscious of the game. Start watching how people try to manipulate you emotionally. Notice when someone uses guilt. Notice when they use flattery. Notice when they try to make you angry, afraid, insecure. And instead of reacting, smile internally, because now you see it. And once you see the trap, you don't step in it. Better yet, you can use the same tactics. Not to harm people, but to influence outcomes in your favor. You can strategically make someone feel valued to gain their cooperation. You can create scarcity to increase your perceived worth. You can use silence to create discomfort that forces others to reveal their hand. This is leadership. This is how the world actually works, beneath all the polite lies. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But the real lesson is deeper. It's about understanding that people respond to emotional states, not logic. You can have the best argument, the most rational position, but if you can't make people feel something, you have no influence. The person who controls the emotional frame of an interaction controls everything. That's why calmness is so powerful. When everyone else is reactive, emotional, chaotic, and you're the one who stays composed, you become the anchor. You become the authority. Here's a dark truth most will never accept. You can love people deeply and still play them strategically. You can care about someone and still manage how they feel about you to achieve better outcomes. This doesn't make you a monster. It makes you effective. Because relationships, all relationships, are exchanges, emotional, practical, whatever. And the person who understands the exchange, who can adjust the levers, who can create value and withdraw it strategically, this applies everywhere. In business, the CEO who can make his employees feel inspired works them harder than the one who pays more. In romance, the partner who knows when to create distance and when to create intimacy controls the frame of the relationship. In conflict, the fighter who stays calm while his opponent rages wins before the first punch is thrown. Emotional control is not about being nice or mean. It's about being strategic. Now let's talk about the final transformation, the point where emotional mastery becomes second nature, where you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just who you are. This doesn't happen overnight. This is months, years of practice. But every single repetition counts. Every time you pause instead of react. Every time you observe instead of identify. Every time you choose strategy over feeling. You're building the neural pathways of mastery. Eventually, something shifts. People start to notice you're different. They can't quite put their finger on it, but they sense something has changed. You don't react the way you used to. Insults bounce off. Chaos doesn't move you. You've become unreadable. And unreadable is dangerous, because people can't predict you. They can't control you. They can't manipulate you. You've become the one thing that terrifies emotional manipulators, a person who cannot be moved. At this level, you're not suppressing emotions. You're experiencing them fully, but at a distance. Like watching a storm from inside a house. You see it, you hear it, but it can't touch you. This is the state Machiavelli achieved. This is the state warriors, kings, and masters have always cultivated. Complete awareness, zero reactivity. You see everything, feel everything, but nothing owns you. And here's the beautiful paradox. Once you master your emotions, once you're no longer their slave, you actually feel more, not less, because you're not defending anymore. You're not trying to avoid pain or chase pleasure. You're just present. You can experience joy without clinging to it. You can experience pain without being destroyed by it. You can love without needing. You can fight without hating. You become fully human, but strategically so. The weak man is tossed by every wave. The strong man stands on the shore and watches the ocean. He respects its power. He knows it could kill him, but he doesn't fear it because he understands it. He's studied it. And when he chooses to enter the water, he does so with full awareness, full control, full mastery. This is who you must become. Not the man who feels nothing, but the man who feels everything and chooses everything. The man whose emotions serve him, not enslave him. The man who walks into any room, any situation, any chaos, and remains centered, grounded, clear. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your sadness, your guilt, your shame. You are the awareness behind all of it. You are the one who decides what to do with these signals. You are the master, not the slave. And from this moment forward, you will act like it. The world will keep trying to pull your strings. People will keep trying to provoke you, manipulate you, control you through emotion. Let them try. Let them pull. Let them push. You're not moving, you're anchored. You've become the immovable object, the unstoppable force. The man who cannot be broken because he refuses to be ruled by anything outside himself. Emotional mastery is the foundation of all power. Without it, you're just another puppet dancing to someone else's tune. With it, you become something rare, something dangerous, something untouchable. A man who has conquered the only territory that truly matters. This isn't feel-good nonsense. This is war. The war for your own mind. The war for your own freedom. And you've just been given the weapons. Now it's up to you whether you use them or not. Whether you stay a slave or become a master. Whether your emotions rule you or you rule them. Most men will watch this video and change nothing. They'll nod along, feel inspired for a moment, then go right back to being reactive, emotional, controlled. But you're not most men. You wouldn't have watched this far if you were. You're the one who's ready to do the work, to practice the pause, to build the distance, to become the master. So here's your command. For the next 7 days, practice emotional observation. Every time a strong emotion hits, don't react, just observe. Name it. Bird J. I'm noticing fear. Create that separation. That's day 1 through 7. Then for the next 7 days, add the delay. Count to 3 before responding to anything emotional. Breathe, let it pass, feel the difference. That's week 2. By week 3, you'll start to notice the grip loosening. By week 4, you'll catch yourself staying calm in situations that used to destroy you. This is how transformation happens. Not in one moment. In 1,000 small decisions to choose mastery over slavery. The greatest victory you will ever achieve is not over an enemy. It's over yourself, over your impulses, over your reactions, over the part of you that wants to stay weak, comfortable, controlled. Kill that part, starve it, replace it with something stronger, something colder, something unstoppable. Because at the end of your life, when you look back, the only question that will matter is this: did you rule your life, or did your life rule you? Did you master your emotions, or did they master you? Everything else, the money, the status, the relationships, all of it, flows from that answer. Machiavelli wrote for princes, for rulers, for men who wanted power. But his real message was deeper. The only kingdom worth ruling is the one inside your own skull. Conquer that, and everything else becomes easy. Fail at that, and nothing else matters. You have the knowledge now. You have the system. You have no more excuses. The only question left is whether you have the will to become dangerous, to become disciplined, to become free. So like this video if you're done being controlled. Subscribe if you're ready to become the kind of man who controls himself completely. Because this is just the beginning. And what comes next will turn you into something the world has never seen from you before. A weapon, a master, a force.